Yeah, I'm Francois Archanjo from Rio De Janeiro, Brazil. I'm gonna tell you a little bit of my life story. I was born in a neighborhood called Vigário Geral in Rio de Janeiro. And of course, as much of the neighborhood in Rio, Vigário had his own favela as well, the slum of Vigário Geral. And it was, of course, back in the days in the 90s, very violence everywhere in Rio. All these favelas and the organized crime growing very fast. And Vigário was known as the most dangerous place in Rio by that time, when I grew up. And based on that, a group of people created a social project called AfroReggae, right? So the AfroReggae was inside the favelas, the slum, and I used to live outside. So the main idea of the AfroReggae project was to prevent young people to get involved with crime, which was very common by that time. You know, when you live in a neighborhood like that, that's the only thing you think you can become when you are teenagers. So there is a bridge dividing the area, the normal neighborhood and the slum across the railways. And by that time, I really felt like I wanted to do something like that, you know, be part of a project to learn, to, of course, improve my skills as a musician. And the AfroReggae wasn't the only project doing that at the neighborhood, but they were the only one doing that through music, just connecting young people and, you know, helping them out to have extra activities, you know, just to take the right choice. But the main problem was how to cross that bridge. Because for people living outside of the favela like I was, it was kind of terrifying to get in there because of the whole, you know, historic of violence of that place. But one day, of course, I had to cross the bridge and I had the first lesson. That was the first image I saw right across the bridge. We had this place only to practice the rhythms, and I spent more or less 2.5 years in this square learning percussion, where I had my first performance as well. And learning, you know, all the social work and music with the project, and of course those guys grew up with me as well. I applied for the first job to become a teacher as well. So they would send me to a very similar place to work with teenagers with similar age, and again use percussion as a tool of transformation. So that's another picture of the project. But this neighborhood where they sent me was like with a high level of criminality, and most of the gangsters there had from 10 to 18 years old. And there was very, very, very huge, like, you know, violence levels in different ways. And I had to connect with them somehow, with those youth from this area. And the only tool I had was percussion, but they didn't even know what percussion was. And they didn't know also that we had to collect the materials from the trash to build our own instruments. And that's what we did. And it wasn't good, like, situation at all to, you know, explain for them, people who had a totally different background, how to work with those materials. But the project was very successful, and after a while, you know, performing with them, just connecting, just sit down and talking, and we got through music, and we got band ready and stuff. So it was the first time I could use recycled materials for making music by myself. So connecting the sustainability, the social sustainability, and culture as well. So after that, I was invited to work in a place I've always dreamed to work, the youth prison in Rio. There are more than 8,000 teenagers getting in the youth prison system in Rio every year. So knowing those numbers and also thinking about that I could be one of them, I wanted to work there. So I went to teach in the youth prison, and of course, again, no plan, no special plan with anything, just to sit down, talk, inspire them, and somehow show them that it was possible to do it honestly, like I did. Just giving a different options for them again. So there was my first group in the youth prison here. The youth prison system is huge in Rio, and divided by gangs, of course. And it was the only place in where they could just get together and not fight, and not try to kill each other as well. And it's nice to see those smiley faces, because in Brazilian law, if you commit a crime when you are under 18, you cannot show your face at all. So nobody sees them at all. And this picture is very important for me, because they have their identity, and they're finally smiling there. So based on this project, there was successful somehow. I got a promotion, right? So I became the cultural manager of the youth prison system in Rio. So I were able to bring my friends to work with me, to teach them also theater, dance, graffiti, human rights. So we would have everything combined, and those youth, they would have an assistance finally, planning stuff and helping them to not get involved in crime again when they come out of the prison. And based on that, I was invited to come to Estonia after a while. I don't know, somehow people heard about the job I was doing that time. And from Rio, I just came straight to Tallinn, right? But there were like so many different issues, huge change, weather, language, food, of course, racism. But the main and the most difficult part, of course, was the language, because it was in 2010 when I came here, and I couldn't speak English at all. So this picture was what I dreamed to do, but how could I do that in the beginning? I had no idea. So again, the only plan I had was to be myself with the students and connecting them and let the music talk itself. So we would have this family feeling that they never had before. Children involved with so many different stuff. Of course, the reality is totally different from what I had in Rio, the teenagers that I had to be afraid of in the beginning. And that was something also surprising, that I didn't know what was going on here. What were the needs of those groups? And of course, just communicating, trying to understand what's going on, and bringing them percussion rhythms. We got there on stage. And of course, after a while, I started to learn some English as well, more or less. And we started to communicate better. So we would play better. So I had to fire the translator and do it myself. So we developed a project that is still on and is known as one of the most important social projects in the country. And today, we are still working in a smaller group. But back in the day, in 2011, when we had these concerts, we were around 7 different groups performing in Tallinn and in different cities of Estonia. We had also a special group of the Tallinn Center for Children at Risk, the Laste Turvakeskus. And we had more than 60 performances in the summer 2011. So many people ask me, why do I do this kind of stuff? And why, my grandmother always asked me, why don't you find a job? Musician's family. But the reason why is that, it could be me. And I believe in the power of music, for sure, and that, I just wanted to share that with people, to give them, some more opportunities when they have to pick a choice. Life is so hard back home, and of course, music could be used for anything. And that's what I keep doing. That's my story. Thank you.